One of the things that's really important when it comes to data engineering is understanding on how you work with real-time data and analyze them. And so that's what we're covering in this module, performing real-time analytics, stream analytics.
Yeah.
And we got a couple of lessons on that, so let's drill down on that, Chris.
Yeah, exactly. So we've got 3 lessons here, right? And the first lesson is really looking at understanding, your students should understand what data streams are and what event processing is, right? And once they've done that, we're only looking in this module at data ingestion with event hubs, not IoT hubs, right?
Or
that
Kafka streaming.
Or Kafka streaming or sort of that. And that's simply because we kept the scope of the exam to stream analytics, which is lesson 3, where we process that data with a stream analytics job. So let's take a look at lesson 1. Data streams and event processing, right? All you have to do here is explain what data streams are, what event processing is, and how streaming analytics fits in with that. So from a data stream perspective, in the context of analytics, right, it could be data that's generated by sensors or other sources like applications that can be analysed by another technology. Okay, so there's 2 approaches that you need to be aware of when doing data streams. Sometimes you don't necessarily want to do real time there and then. Makes sense. What you might do is you might take the streaming data, store it in a file in Azure Blob to be processed at a later date. We basically call that reference data, right? So you're streaming the reference data. The alternative to that is streaming data. You're doing it live there and then.
That's where event hubs comes into play.
That's where event hubs come into play. So data streams are basically used to help you understand systems, analyze data, or maybe trigger some kind of specific action that you want to do. From that, you need to understand that there's some kind of event being generated in that data stream, right? So event processing is that process of consuming the data streams that we've just discussed. So there's 3 parts of this. You've got an event producer. Now that could be a sensor. It could be an application. It might even be a social media platform that you're wanting to capture as well. The event processor is, as the name suggests, it processes those data streams to get insights out of it. So that will be Azure Streaming Analytics. And then the event consumer is basically the destination for that analysis or where you put it. So,
and that's when in times of like when we think about Power BI and the live dashboard capabilities where we have it as an output.
Exactly.
As part of...
So Power BI could definitely be one of your event consumers. So with that, just go through how streaming analytics works in that context, right? So streaming analytics basically has source information, whether it's a sensor or a system or application. The ingestion, it supports 3 methods, which is either event hubs, which is the focus of this module, IoT hubs, or Azure Blob Store. And then the analytical engine is Stream Analytics Query Language, which basically tell your students that their existing SQL knowledge is going to be helpful here.
Especially if you understand how do you deal with time series and...
Exactly. And then you've got the .NET SDK. And the destination is varied. Power BI, as you mentioned earlier, but we might just take the analysed data and stick it in a data lake for later consumption, a SQL database.
And very often that output is just a subset of your data stream, right? Because that's how you process it with the querying and...
Well, this is the great thing, right, about the actual analytical engine itself. It might just be a straight select. It could be an aggregation. It could be a manipulation. That's up to you. Stream Analytics Query Language is very, very flexible that you can use in many ways.
Are we talking there about hot and cold path scenarios as well, or?
That's a really good
not
question.
As much?
No, we're focusing more just on hot path here because other modules are focusing what will maybe viewed as cold path. So, for example, Module 2 with Data Lake Store, where you don't necessarily need the data right now. So we've just kept it on a live path. So I'm glad you've raised that.
Okay.
Review questions, only 1 in this case. And then in the second lesson, we focus on event hubs, right? With this, we describe Azure event hubs, create an event hubs, how we can evaluate performance, and how we can configure applications to use it.
And I think important here is to call out is when you're teaching this, is that you clearly understand the difference between Event Hub and IoT Hub when it comes to device management.
Exactly.
That's one of the more common questions, because the reality will be is that you might have students in class that are going to go, wow, Event Hub is really great, while in reality they probably need to have IoT Hub
that is true.
to do things like device management and registers of that central management of those devices.
Exactly. And you could call that out in here, right?
Which might even be like an IoT central kind of solution that they're trying to build out as well.
Yeah, but don't go too deep into IoT. Just make the distinction and leave it there. We're going to be planning 4 courses, I think, in the future on this area. Explain to what is your event hubs are, right, and the fact that it can stream millions of data streams per second. Talk about how you can create an event hub. Now, the reason why I've done it as text-based here, which is unusual compared to all the other ones, is because it was very difficult to show 2 separate areas of the portal in here. So basically, you've got to talk about creating an event hub namespace first, which is the addressable name that you connect to. Once you've got that, then you can create the event hub. But also talk about the fact that with the event hub created, you've got what's called within that shared access policies that set up the permissions to access that event hub. And that goes back to the
permissions and security module as well.
Exactly. And the reason why we call that out here is we're priming people up for the security module. That's only going to happen in a couple of modules' time, right? So configuring applications to use event hubs, basically you have some kind of application. It could be a web-based application, it could be a mobile application, generating some data. Basically you have an API that captures that,
sends it
to the namespace, the event hub namespace. And within the event hub namespace, you've got the event hub itself that is processing that data. Okay? You can view the performance of the event hubs through a dashboard in event hubs there, where you can get an idea of the requests, the messages, the throughput, and basically you're good to go. It's a separate object ready and waiting for Stream Analytics to take advantage of.
Perfect.
So lesson 3 is how you process data with a Stream Analytics job from the event hub that you've just set up. Basically with this, we've got 6 lesson objectives where we talk about the Stream Analytics workflows, we create a Stream Analytics job, we configure a Stream Analytics job inputs and job outputs. So you got an input of the data, you got an output of the data. In the middle of that is your transformation query. And once you've done that, you can start the job. So on the left, you can use something like a blob store or an event hub as a source. That acts as an input adapter to what's called complex event processing. Stream Analytics does that in the form of a Stream Analytics job, which consists of the input adapter, the complex events processor, and the output adapter. And then, of course, your destinations could be another event hub, a blob, Power BI, Service Bus Queue, and so forth. So this, just create a Stream Analytics job, go into the portal and do it. You know, this PowerPoint slide is explaining it, but just go in and do it. Create the job inputs as well, with all the options that are there, because it's quite involved, I would say. And then create the job outputs as well. Again, give this a demo through the portal because it's quite involved. And then here's an example of writing a transformation query. The one on the screen is a select everything. There's nothing complicated about that. There are windowing functions that you can do to do time series analysis, so you can choose to go into that in more depth. In the lab, they are literally just pulling information from Twitter, which we'll talk about when we get to the lab. And then starting in the job. Once your actual job is created, you can then start it, and you're good to go. You do the review questions, and the lab, again, if you read through the case study, it's quite clear where the Stream Analytics will fit into that case study. You've got 3 objectives where you explain data streams and event processing, you do data ingestion with event hubs, and you process the data with Stream Analytics jobs. There could be a challenge with this. You need to make sure in your training centre that there's ports open for Twitter-based data.
Yeah.
So just be mindful of that. But full instructions on how to do the lab is there. The only prerequisite to this is that it does help if they have a Twitter account.
Yeah.
Yeah? But full instructions are there. It's the one where in teachers, we've had feedback going, oh, I can now go back to work right now, run this lab, and show someone how useful this is.
Yeah, makes sense.
And it makes real, because the scenario is you are analysing a hashtag in real time in Twitter. I mean, I use Brexit simply because I know that's an active hashtag at the minute, but you could use your company name, you know, you might use an Xbox hashtag, whatever makes you feel right. But it is definitely the lab where people go, oh, I can show someone now how we can make use of Azure right off the bat. Review questions again to promote discussion. So, you know, what methods would you use for ingesting data? Where would social media sites be classed in terms of event processing? Is it mandatory to have a job input? And then just review it. There's a really, really good reference architecture for real-time event processing using Stream Analytics. I highly recommend that you read that, and it's something that your students could use after the course. I believe with this module, you'll get some of your students very excited about it because they've got something tangible to go back to work with. So that's how you basically do real-time analytics using Stream Analytics.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I got no more questions on this one.
Let's move on then.
Thank you.